Welcome to Becoming Parents Podcast. I'm your host, Jennifer Campbell, mom of 18 and executive director of the Doula Co-op of Nevada. With more than 15 years in birth work, I've had the privilege of walking beside families through life's transitions. My work centers on connection, community, and amplifying voices that too often go unheard. Each of these episodes is an honest conversation about the messy, beautiful, and transformative experiences that shape us as parents and as people. I'd like to extend a heartfelt thank you to the incredible guests who show up with courage and authenticity to share their stories with us. Let's dive right in. Welcome to Becoming Parents Podcast. I today am with Melany and Auston, who are prior clients of mine. Hi, how are you guys?
So good. So you're doing good.
Really great.
And your daughter is 16 months now.
Yeah.
Crazy.
There's no way. Like I'm saying that we were all there. There's no way.
Right.
I want you to jump in and share your parenting journey with us.
Yeah, sure.
Sure. So we had always wanted children. I think careers took the priority as when we first got married. We weren't exactly sure when, but we knew it was somewhere out there that we wanted to have kids. And we had just sold our house in Alabama. We had a beautiful house, just sold it, got rid of all our stuff except what could fit in a U-Haul, and then drove to Reno, Nevada, because we just saw pictures of it online and thought this would be a really cool place to live. We're not in the military anymore. We don't have kids, and let's try it out. And so we moved, and about 3 weeks after unpacking our things and signing a lease in an apartment, I found out I was pregnant, and Auston took it so well. I was panicking. It felt like a teen pregnancy, even though I was 28 and we'd been married for 4 years. And I was like, why does this feel like this? And I sunk down to the floor in the bathroom when I saw the pregnancy test was positive. Was freaking out, and then I don't know. Do you want to tell her your pregnancy test?
Yeah, we had kind of a weird situation, I guess. As Mel said, like we were obviously both in the military, and I had been dealing with some hormonal issues when I first got out of the military. So we didn't know it at the time. We weren't trying for kids, but my endocrinologist had said, if you guys are trying, like you're likely going to be dealing with some infertility stuff. You've got super low test, super low estrogen. So prior to finding out we were expecting, I had been taking HCG injections. And so they said that I'd probably be back to peak levels of test and fertility at about that 4-month mark, and that's right when Mel got her positive test back. But so Mel was just so much disbelief, and I was like, well, don't these test for HCG, like that's what they're checking for. And I had just taken my injection that day, and so just kind of, I don't know, maybe to lighten the mood, I peed on a stick too, and it came back pregnant. This is so nuts.
First male pregnancy.
Yeah, I was like, this is
well,
either we're having a baby, or this was like the craziest chance false positive of all time. And obviously, we were waiting and got an appointment for Mel to get in and checked out, and they obviously did blood tests and found out we were expecting. But it was this weird roller coaster of up and down of just we just started first semester at UNR there, and just really not really wanting to be parents at that time. But that's kind of, I don't know, the cool part about timing, how it works like that is whatever we think our plan is, and there's a better one out there. And now I don't know that I'm speaking for myself. Like I do kind of wish we'd started sooner. Like now
okay.
Yeah.
All going, but
yeah, I'd say it took 2 weeks to come to grips with it. And I think that roller coaster of not knowing exactly, like we didn't exactly know I was pregnant, that made me feel more of a basket case. But after the blood test, and it was for sure, I think I could, okay, this is happening. And yeah, in hindsight, it was the best time, I think, to have a baby for us. And I also wish we had them sooner, because we'd want to have more. And
I think the thing, Mel and I, or certainly more Mel, but I guess both of us are being A-type people. Like in our minds, we had, the list of all the things that we were going to have accomplished or have prepared before having a baby, and we had none of them. We were not in a house. We were not done with school. We were not in careers. We didn't have our, finances as much saved up as we wanted. And to Mel's point, I do think that there was some benefit of having Ayla in those circumstances, because I think any person could always find a reason why it's not the right time to have a baby, or that there will always be a better time, so to speak. And having gone through that, not like it wasn't a crazy struggle or anything like that. It wasn't a big deal, but now just feeling the joy of being a parent now, having her, I mean, you'll find a way. You can always make more money. There will always be time for school. It might not be as easy, but really just a word of encouragement to any parents out there, or people who are thinking about it and trying to decide when's the right time. Do I have XYZ?
It's never the right time.
Yeah.
And I think the other thing, especially the first time around, is that no matter how much preparation you do, pregnancy, labor and delivery, postpartum, having a baby, it's like telling someone who's never had salt what salt tastes like. It's not even possible. Like, it is not possible. Also, in pregnancy and postpartum, as Mel knows, like if there are 20 possible side effects or symptoms or whatever, and you're going to have 8, but we don't know which 8. Like, it's like Russian roulette of pregnancy and hormones. Like, you try to prepare for everything, knowing that like half of it you're not going to experience. And there's this whole section over here, didn't even anticipate. So I think people kind of get stuck on being ready in lots of different ways. And that's not a bad thing. And you're not going to be. Yeah,
exactly. And like Austin said, our A-type personalities, the surprise pregnancy was the best possible outcome for us, because I think we are so control every part of our life that I don't know how many years would have gone by of us saying it's just not the right time. So I'm glad that it was a surprise.
I also think it was a great lesson. Obviously, Jen, you having the experience you've seen a lot of that. You've seen, some women have this, and some dads respond this way, and you've seen a lot of that. But it was a really cool exercise in surrendering to a process that I think a lot of people, maybe just don't get the opportunities to do that. You can always kind of have, majority of your input and have it your way, so to speak. There's enough ways to do that. And this was a really cool exercise, both as for us individuals, but also as a couple, of like what this is going to be like. And arm yourselves with education and knowledge, but we can get into that as we talk birth stories and other stuff. But just what a cool opportunity it was to be able to do, to experience something like that, of a surrender and just, trust the process, so to speak.
And that's one of my favorite words, because that's what labor is. I mean, literally everything in you wants to fight against being in labor. Your body just wants to tighten up and fight it. And you have to go against everything in you that's telling you to fight it and surrender to it. I think it is the hardest thing that women have to do. And again, one of those things that's really challenging to explain. Although, so when we met, I think it's human nature to find common denominators. And I was Air Force dependent, so I understand the military, but you guys were Marine. Mm-hmm. Both of you, which Air Force knows it's a different level. And I'd love to talk a little bit about that and how you guys met and stuff, because you weren't just like a crew chief for the KC-135 in the Air Force, which was my ex's job, like, cool, lots of travel, nothing wrong with that. No, I'm not downplaying that. You guys were not doing that. And so there's an intensity in some of the military. And then also, like, lots of people are in good shape. You guys were in exceptional shape, especially Mel as a woman, right? Like, I walked in and I was like, okay, we're working out together. Like, what is it? I don't know what's happening here. And I had just gone on hormones. I've been on them for just over 2 years for menopause. And so just fascinating how you instantly, like we instantly want to find what are our common denominators, because I'm forming a relationship with you, right? As your doula, and I want to get to know you, but also I remember being like, Mel, we need to talk fitness, because coming into a pregnancy, even if a woman's in good shape, I mean, I was a runner, I was in great shape through pregnancies. You were definitely at a competitive, maybe that's a good way to say it, a more competitive level. Yeah. And like, I remember getting on your Instagram being like, first, where do you get your booty shorts? Second, holy crap. Like I had all these personal questions and connections, because it's just not common. And you guys had that intense military career and like this CrossFit lifestyle. Those two together, I was like, you are a force to be reckoned with together, and as a woman. And so it was fascinating for me to watch your pregnancy progress and look at that, just the whole situation, then labor and delivery and postpartum, and how that mindset prepared you, which was probably one of the coolest parts of working with you guys. So can you talk about whatever you can? And also, I do remember the story about how you guys met, enough to be dangerous, but talk about that and what you did, because I want to formulate, like, you guys were in a very unique low percentage demographic going into this.
Yeah, we both enlisted right out of high school into the Marine Corps. Austin's from Minnesota, I'm from Indiana. And then I enlisted as a combat engineer, and Austin enlisted as an infantryman. And 2 or 3 years into our careers, well, we happened to get stationed at the same base in Southern California in Camp Pendleton. But even though you're on the same base, we still were 45 minutes away from each other. So we'd never crossed paths, never met each other. And then we were both assigned to the same deployment, which is ironic. And then not only the same deployment, but we were assigned to the same ship. So the Marine Corps deploys with the Navy. The Navy splits about 3,000 to 5,000 Marines up amongst 3 ships, and then you'll sail to different countries, and you're never all together unless you're on the same ship. So we also got assigned to the same ship, which was the smallest ship, and we had a mutual friend who I showed horses with growing up, and we had just kind of ended up being on the same gate during this training exercise in LA, and Austin and I just kind of started talking there. I don't know. You want to?
Yeah, she had grown up with a buddy of mine in my platoon, and he kind of soft introduced us. And like Mel said, by that time we had sort of figured out that we were going to be kind of doing this deployment together. And it was really an interesting opportunity, because I had sort of opportunities, not the right way to say it, experience, because I had kind of a hard rule that I wasn't going to, dating within the military, obviously statistically, ends in disaster more time than not. And so, but I think, as Jen knows, like, I had really no intention of like anything coming from this guy. I thought Mel was a lesbian, so I was like, "There's no."
That was, yes, of course, I did remember that. Yeah,
I was like, "Why?"
There was no pressure, so I was like, "Oh, I just assumed." I didn't know that a whole lot of female Marines, and so we had kind of hit this off, but
we're all gay, all female Marines, gay.
More from just from a friend standpoint, but then that provided an opportunity to really just get to know her and really see how she ticks, but to go a step further than that, then to also see how she operates kind of in those stressful environments, which is something a lot of people don't get to witness their spouse, their professional life, or certainly in under stress or pressures, this kind of stuff. And not to mention the fact that there's explicitly forbidden any type of physical contact or touch with another service member while on the deployment. It's just, especially on a ship. So we really had nothing to do but talk and get to hang out and really get to know her and hear about her values and her plans and goals, and just sort of the things that are really important to her. And over the months and months and months of just getting that time with her, really fostering a strong love and connection. And then by the time we got back stateside, it was decided we were going to date fully. And I had 1 year left in the Marine Corps when we got home from that deployment, and I had plans to go to special operations. I wasn't sure if I was going to do it in the Marine Corps or the Army. I opted to jump ship and go over to the Army, which put some strain on us. We did long distance for a while. I ended up proposing right before I reenlisted in the Army. We were engaged for about 2 years while I was going through selection and Ranger School and airborne and all that. And then I did one deployment while she was, still in the Marine Corps, and then had moved back to Indiana. And then after that deployment, we actually had our wedding. She moved down to our place down in Georgia, and then I deployed again.
It was a lot of from the beginning, our relationship had been tested. Like Austin said, on deployment, you really see people at their low. You see them homesick, you see them stressed, exhausted. And so for the first few months, we're together on our deployment. Like he said, like talking at, different meal time or in passing by. And then we'd sit outside the ship and talk at night. And that was obviously all you could do. But then we got separated. And we were in Africa, and we got separated. I went into Iraq. Austin went into Saudi Arabia, and we didn't see each other for 3 months. And we couldn't even really email. I think we wrote 1 or 2 letters, but it was like, I don't know if they'll get this. And so you have no contact, which for me personally it gave me the opportunity to really reflect on like, wow, I actually miss this guy and miss talking to him, and there's something there. And then post deployment was this transitional time, and I think for me, I started to feel myself branching off from my career being my main focus and starting to think about, well, what do I want? I was 24 at the time. Like, I really am in love with this guy and I want to get married someday. And so I think I started coping with the thought of getting out of the Marine Corps. Unless a lot of veterans can relate to this, but like there's such an emotional toll to choosing to get out of the military. It's just every part of you. It's your identity, it's your purpose, it's everything. And Austin was struggling with it too. And so fighting our individual battles, and then going to selection for special operations, and being long distance for that. And again, no emails or phone calls for months at a time. It was just so much. And I think being apart really has still to this day, like we don't take each other for granted. And I attribute that to our long distance time. You just really, when you experience missing someone so deeply, you really want to cherish the time you do have together. So I'd say emotional wise, we really had strengthening our bond on the front end with our.
To that same vein, I guess, to how that translated then to parenthood, and then through Mel's pregnancy and labor, as you pointed out, obviously physical fitness was a huge part of our life and day to day. And we've carried that, well into our, civilian life and transition. I've been out for 3 years, and Mel's been out for
5 years.
5. So, doesn't quite look like what it did then, but, still a big part of the life. And, that mindset, I guess, too, played a huge role that Mel can talk to a bit more as we get into maybe her birth story and stuff. But just, being able to kind of centrally focus on difficult things and embracing hard tasks. And
I remember during labor and pregnancy, really, like I just kept telling myself, like, I've done hard things before. This is a different hard, but I felt that bottom of the barrel hard, and I can do this. I was made to do this. I wasn't made to be a Marine, but I did it. And so birth, pregnancy, all of that is, I was made to do those things. And it's just, shifting up here. And then, yeah, my fitness was huge foundation, fitness and nutrition. I think a lot of people talk pregnancy fitness, but there's not a lot of talk on nutrition, right? It's like this, you're pregnant, eat whatever you want. And I actually read the Real Food for Pregnancy book and was so fascinated at how much we influence our baby's adult metabolism by what we eat when we're pregnant, and just all the incredible things the human body does. And so nutrition and fitness was huge for me. And I was determined to not, God willing that I had a healthy pregnancy and all that, to not slow down, like to just continue doing the same things. Because I was, you hear all these different opinions and everybody had a different experience with their pregnancy. And I said, man, it sounds like I'm not even going to have the balance to do anything in the gym. And so I was determined, like, I'm going to keep moving my body and just do what I can. And I think that determination definitely came from the Marine Corps.
You guys both have those similar attitudes just about health and fitness and determination, and just that, I guess it is a military and a fitness mindset because they're pretty parallel. I remember when I met you guys, so there's a quote, I think it's Arnold Schwarzenegger, that says a well-built physique is a status symbol. It reflects you worked hard. No money can buy it. You cannot borrow it. You cannot inherit it. You cannot steal it. You cannot hold on to it without constant work. And when I met you, it was that I was like, that's who they are, in your mindset. It's not just you have muscles. That's cool. They look great. Very hot. But it's beyond that, and so going into working through a pregnancy and going into labor and delivery, because again, no matter how much you prepare, no matter how much you learn, it's super helpful. The book you read, awesome, super helpful, right? But you don't know what's going to get thrown at you the second your water breaks, you go into labor. And I also feel like there are mindsets that are not 100% in line with the hospital.
Yes. For sure.
And that's another struggle. Like, can you have a really amazing hospital birth and get what you want? Yes. Does it statistically happen often? Not as much as it should. I had my first one, I had a great experience in hospital birth. It was not what I wanted though, but it was still a great experience. And so, when you have a mentality that leans more towards very natural home birth, it leans more towards that attitude, but you're trying to accomplish it in the hospital, you're kind of at odds with a system, with who you are and your values and what you want and the system that you're working in, and that can be challenging. So you guys went into labor.
Yeah.
Let's jump into that. Well, first of all, what happened with Austin's pregnancy? How did that go?
Yeah, right. I know. Crazy experience. Anyway.
Yeah. Well, we took an awesome Bradley method birth class, and in that, the instructor Ashley said, "You guys probably aren't going to have your baby on your due date. Get that out of your head and create a little fun checklist of things you're going to celebrate on that day if you're still pregnant." And one of them was go eat Italian. So we went to Zozo's in Reno, and
I forgot about this.
Yeah, and Austin had ordered a limoncello or something, some Italian yummy drink, and he's telling a story, and we're in a booth, and I'm sitting and listening, and I started smiling, and he said, "What? Like, what are you smiling about?" And I said, "I think I'm having real contractions, not Braxton Hicks, but there's a rhythm to them." And he goes, "I just had a drink. What are you talking about?"
I had more than one. I had a few, so I was like,
well, we're not going to the hospital right now. Like, it's okay. And so that was Friday night, so the night of my due date. And then we went home, and they continued through the night. They never got closer than like 5 minutes. And then they'd stop when the sun came up. And so I said, okay, this is prodromal labor. But I wasn't sleeping very well because I was excited and my body is doing something I'd never felt it do. So not great sleep Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday night. And then Monday I was just like, whatever, I just need to ignore ignore the fact that I'm having these, prodromal labor, but no baby is here. I need to stop trying to watch the kettle boil. And so, or the pot boil, I don't know. And then Monday night we were walking, I don't know, maybe a mile out from the parking lot, and I felt a trickle. It was probably 7 p.m. Monday night. And I was like, did I just pee myself a little bit? And then I didn't say anything. And then we kept walking, and then I felt it again. And I said, I wonder if my water just broke. And you go.
I was like, what do you mean? Was it, did it or not? Because I was like, what do you mean? And she was like, I'm not sure if I.
Oh, I've never done this before.
She's like, I'm not
and
sure.
It's like a trick. It can be like nothing and then stop for a while and then a little bit. And 9 out of 10 times you did pee. So like,
yeah, right.
you literally do not know. You do. Right. You think it'd be so clear, like flipping a light switch. It's nothing like that. Nothing. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. Then we kept walking and I felt another, and I said, no, I think that's my water. And I said, he's like, what do you want to do? And I said, well, we have to finish the walk because it was a loop. So we finished and went back to the car. And I felt excited, but I was also starting to get a little nervous, I guess, because I just, I envisioned this birth where my water breaks right before the baby's born. And, I knew I wasn't in real labor. And so I was like, I wonder like what this means. And then we got back that evening and I wanted to see if real labor started. We texted you and I would say about 9 p.m. Monday evening, real like contractions, 3 minutes apart, pretty much all night, and still little trickles here and there. And then Austin's mom was in town. She came to dog sit for us. And I remember us at like 5:30 in the morning being like, okay, like, contractions were, I'd say 3 minutes apart consistently. And our hope was to labor at home as long as possible. And then, the hospital was a couple minutes down the road. And we had been kind of keeping you in the loop. And you were awesome, by the way, Jen, just all night. At any text, you were immediate. You probably didn't sleep either, but like immediate response and just very encouraging, very exciting. And it just felt great to have you just as a, someone that knew what was going on and someone that could give us good advice. And so, yeah, we left for the hospital at maybe like 6 in the morning, and we'd eaten a big breakfast and tried to get as much rest as possible. And then we pulled into the parking garage at Renown, and I think this is my theory. I think my body slowed down going from the dark, calm apartment to the fluorescent parking garage lights. And then the car next to us, the alarm started going off as soon as I got out of the car. And I was just like, and then we started walking and I said, I think contractions are slowing down. And he said, really? And I said, yeah. But then I was a little nervous, like my water already broke. And he's like, well, what do you want to do? Just say the word. And I said, Jen's here. Like, let's just go see. Maybe I am further along. Mm-hmm. And also I wasn't that calm. I was more, more intense. But then we got into the hospital and they checked me and they said, you're 3 to 4 centimeters. And this is on me. I could feel that. I'm a very competitive person, which is something I really want to have in control for our next baby. But I could feel that affect my mindset. Like, I'm not further along. And I said, well, can I go back home? And they said, well, your water already broke. We really recommend you stay. And then your face popped around the corner, and that felt really good just to see like a familiar face, someone that's on our team. Mm-hmm. And then I don't know, we moved to the room.
Yeah. I think, prodromal labor is not abnormal, but you never know. And when it happens, it's a mental game. Labor is a mental game because physically, I think we can go through so much more than we give ourselves credit for. mentally though is where we kind of fall apart. And when you're in labor and not sleeping well and uncomfortable and you hit your due date and like on paper doesn't seem like a big deal, but when you're living in that moment and like every night you have like you're having contractions all night and then they stop in the day, it's so discouraging and frustrating and infuriating and like just freaking work and do what you're supposed to do. Like what is the problem here? There should be no disconnect. And like going to the hospital for most people, it's like the cat in the closet. A cat that's having babies will hide in your dark closet, and if you open the door and see the cat will even get up and go somewhere else, stop labor and go somewhere else. And I don't think we don't talk about things like that enough. Like the hospital may be the best choice to deliver or the only choice or insert whatever thing here. That doesn't mean that it's going to feel good. And
Right.
it's an interruption no matter what. Like there's nothing natural about the lights, the beeping, the amount of times you get interrupted, the slew of questions you've answered 5,000 times. Why are you asking me again? Doesn't my birth plan say I don't want erythromycin? Yes, I know what bacteria causes. Like, why are we having these conversations? I'm in labor. Every time. Oh, I see you on an unmedicated birth. So let me 3 or 4 times go over your pain management options because obviously you're now an idiot.
Yeah.
Just
Oh,
that
man.
is the nature of the beast, you know. It's instantly salmon upstream.
Yeah.
That is what going to labor and delivery is like. So, but also when your body has worked that hard for 3 or 4 days, you're doing calculations about my water broke almost 12 hours ago or almost whatever, you know, you're screwing your mind. And it's not like you're doing it intentionally or we can get you to not do it because logic and emotion don't play well in the sandbox, you know. So tons of hormones, tons of intervention, tons of lots of stuff. And you're excited. You want to meet this, like, come out.
Yeah.
Get out, eviction notice. So I think you did great because we are all in that situation. You've got to mitigate it, you know.
Absolutely.
You got settled. Also, you had absolutely hands down my favorite OB.
Yeah. He's awesome.
My
Shout out.
favorite.
Yeah.
And of the two of them, he was on call, and I really like her. We had conversation. Actually, Austin, you're the one that told me she was a Marine doctor, and I was like, click.
Yeah.
Like, because I was like, I really like her a lot, but she's kind of abrasive. Like, I'm missing something. And you're like, she's a Marine, and I was like, there it is. Okay, wow, like,
That's it.
oh, and she's great. But Farringer, I have pictures of us hanging out together at labor. It's like he's just the coolest dude. So for a hospital, you know, you couldn't have had a better situation. But I want you to go through your labor enough that you talk about that mindset you had from before and how it played a part. Because at some point, you were surrendering in ways you didn't want to. You have to make decisions that are tough, that aren't the decision you really wanted to make.
Yeah. I when we got to the labor room, you had specifically requested the big room, which
I
was
did.
awesome. And that felt great. Just like you knew the system, and having you even I remember you looked at the schedule and you said, I know which nurses are going to be best for your birth plan, and you requested them for our room, and they were all incredible. And we got in the room and it was just like, all right, like let's get the show on the road. And I would we turned on our playlist, and you had brought all of the bells and whistles for labor. And Austin was incredible. Just the fact that he knew what was going on. I feel like a lot of dads are kind of left in the dark, and they're like, whatever, like I'm here to support, but I don't know what exactly is going on. And having Austin just be on the same page and know the different things that can help me get relief from the contractions, and everything was just huge. Having, obviously, Jen, you were equally as important and incredible, but having like your life partner there,
Yep.
knowing what's going on, knowing the things that are going to be challenging, was big. And so we did everything. We did the ball. I remember doing squats and lunges and slow dancing, and we do a couple rounds of contractions, on the toilet, reversed on the toilet, and gosh, it all day just working through it. And I know I denied all the cervical checks for pretty much that first day. I knew myself, and I know I'm competitive. And so I wanted to just get my mind out of the way of my body and just try to let it work. And we had packed a big cooler of, really great fuel for labor, which was incredible that the hospital was supportive of that. And that helped us a lot. That helped me a lot. And then I would say the middle of the night, Monday night, is when my back. So I have, unfortunately, from the Marine Corps, I have 2 protruding discs in my lumbar region and then 3 degenerating discs. And it's always given me issues. And it never dawned on me that it would give me issues through labor. I guess I just was never a consideration. And I would say that's when it started firing up, just spasms and soreness. And anyway, and then you guys were very supportive with whatever I needed that would bring me relief. We were in the shower, we were out of the shower, and I think probably almost to the 24-hour mark of active labor in the hospital, you were like, Mel, you got to try to get some rest. Yeah. And I said, I can't lay down on my back. It hurts too bad. And that was a challenge for me, just shutting off the logical part of my brain and trying to tune into that primal part of the primitive part of my brain. That was really difficult for me, again, to surrender that control and surrender the control of, I know what my birth plan says, and I know they say, call them preferences, but I had a plan. And, but yeah, I, pulling on, I've done hard things. And then what were we saying I said, you can do anything hard for 1 minute.
Yep.
So, and that's about as long as the contractions lasted. And that's just what we kept saying. And I feel like that's when I started everything got foggy. So maybe you.
Yeah. And Austin was great. And incredible. You never know. Incredible. Like if you can design the dad,
Yeah.
It was Austin. Because it's a lot of work, and everybody's different. Some men get really grossed out by blood or by the process, which there's nothing wrong with any of those things. But, I'm always trying to figure out, where are you at in this process? Like, where's your comfort zone? Where's your knowledge at? How involved do you want to be? Who does Mel prefer being touched by? Because it's sometimes the partner and it's sometimes not. And just the whole thing is all learning. And you were great, but what was watching her go through, like up until this point, what was it like to support and watch that? Because it's very helpless for a lot of men.
Yeah, it was really challenging, like in a way that I'm sure a lot of men can relate to, of just, that helplessness of just like, I can't fix this. The surrendering, like, it's not comparative in the way of I'm not doing the labor, but I have to surrender and really put my trust in Mel and her body of like, she's going to get through this. She can do this. Her body knows what to do. I can't fix this, and just stay in that real supportive role. And that was challenging. But even above that, what was difficult for me was keeping like a positive attitude. Obviously, as the hours kind of start slogging on, and my mind, I'm like, this is not progressing. And Mel is now in every single contraction is not super productive, and she's in a ton of pain. And just, trying to quietly silence that voice in my head of just like, she needs to do XYZ. It's time for this, time to bring in this. I think like I tell the story, like by the time her back had kicked up, when, you and I were really just taking turns, just pressure on her lower back. And, every contraction, she's in so much pain. And just like, I would kind of silently like cry into the lower part of her back and get through the contraction and quick, like wipe my face off, so that by the time she got through it, it was like, yeah, that was so good. And it was really difficult. I think labor, especially a difficult labor, they say in the military, you're never going to rise to the occasion. You're going to fall down onto your training. And so for a situation like that, labor and stressful things like that, painful things like that, you're not going to just become super dad all of a sudden. You're going to fall down to the deepest, lowest level of your connection with your spouse, and it's going to bring out the best and the worst. And so having a foundation of good communication, trust in that, I was really leaning on that a ton as I was going through this, because it was a completely new experience for both of us. And I felt, like you said, really helpless, and even kind of scared at times, scared for Mel, scared for the baby. Not that anything was going crazy. The staff was amazing and monitoring. Baby was doing fine, but yeah, I think can be a daunting experience for a lot of dads. But to your point, whatever your level of comfort is, I would say, like, be as involved as you can. I don't regret that. I think it's kind of the easy button to just, well, there's the doula and there's the staff. I'm just here to, I'll cut the cord or whatever when it's my time to shine. But I feel really grateful for having played that part in the process, because I wasn't going through the contractions. I was in the labor, but I still felt like I was experiencing it, and got that time, kind of the last couple hours on earth that it was just the two of us. And then now it's family. So highly encourage that.
I also think, like, you're feeling helpless and like, just somebody do something to make this not be like this. And then you have your birth plan that doesn't say that. And you're trying to surrender. I mean, back labor with back issues is probably the single worst situation. Doesn't mean it will happen the next time. Also, you'll be more prepared for it too. But it is hard. And I try to tell people in the prenatal, like, I want you to have an unmedicated birth, totally possible, but we also need a safe word, because there's going to be a point in every labor where a woman's like, I can't do this anymore, and I want something. It never doesn't happen. Unmedicated births just mean you figure out some way to get through that. But especially when they're like, here's your menu of options that we can give you right now, and for me, if you are really certain you want no pain management, and then you hit a point that you want pain management, there are two parts of this from my perspective. It's one, are you going to be upset if you get it and be angry, like, why didn't you guys support me more? Or by saying, well, remember, not that I would say it this way, but remember your birth plan, we're just going to work through this. Like, am I withholding pain medication? Am I pushing you through it? And that makes me seem like I'm withholding it. And you don't want either end of that spectrum. You don't ever want to withhold something that you've decided you need, and you don't ever want to support long enough to get you through it if you need. And that snapshot for the doula is the hardest, I think. And also because oftentimes by then the dad's like, just give it to her, like, freaking make it stop. Because it's so emotional. So you have to be kind of delicate in that transition and figure out, really, is this a safe word time? Are we switching gears? Because there's nothing wrong with switching gears, as long as it's the right tool at the right time, right? So I know Farringer came in, and also having a great OB who's like, I'll support you in any way you want. We're all like, Mel, we'll support you in any way, whatever you want, we're all fine with. What made the switch for you? And then what was the rest of the labor like for you?
Sure. Well, everyone talks about how it's going to be physically demanding. And again, I was like, okay, I've done physically demanding things. I've had to dig deep mentally, emotionally. But it just felt so long. I mean, it felt like the Twilight Zone with every contraction going to my back. It wasn't even my cervix or pelt. None of that was painful. It was just that injured part of my back, and it just felt like every contraction was just going there. And so it was like 2 a.m. This is now Wednesday morning. So we've been there since Tuesday morning. Now it's Wednesday morning. And I finally agreed to a nurse to do a cervical check. And she checked me and she said, you're at 7 centimeters. And I said, I thought I was closer. And again, I was really hard on myself, and I wish for my next labor, I am going to be more conscious of that and just surrender control of, I thought I could control how quickly I would dilate and, muscle it almost. So there's a lot of like mental notes I took, but hearing the 7, it was like, that's better than, 4 or whatever I was at when we checked into the hospital, but it still felt like it's been a long time. And I remember we were all trying to get rest, and I was laying in the bed I think we had everything. We had the peanut ball. We had, essential oils and biofreeze on my back. And it was like every contraction, my body would scream, like, get up, like, get off your back. And so I would dive out of bed, and crazy way to move. And I was just like, I can't, this hurts so bad. I can't lay down. And so that's when I think I just was swaying, like standing, swaying, leaning against the bed. And then that was, through the early morning. And then, they had shift change, and Farringer came back on. And I think he was surprised to see we were still there, still in labor. And I think too, I had a shift seeing his familiar face. He knows, again, he was an incredible OB for our birth plan. And seeing him, it was like, that also was a little shift for my mentality of like, okay, it's safe. And not that the other OB wasn't. I mean, she was incredible too. I think it was just like, again, that control piece for me. And he said, you're still in labor. And I said, yep. And he said, it's been a while, and your water broke, almost 48 hours ago. And I'm going to have to check you today. And I said, yeah, hey, I know. And he said, so how about I come back at 9 a.m.? It was about 7 a.m. I said, let me come back at 9 a.m. just see where you're at. I said, okay. So we were awake, and we said, it's a brand new day. And I remember you guys opened the curtains. We were like, change the playlist that's been on repeat. Like, we mixed things up. And he didn't come back at 9. And at this point, I was just standing in the shower with the hot faucet on my low back. Was really the only way to get through the contraction. It wasn't even about relief at that point. And he came back, I don't know, 11, I think, about 11 a.m. He came back and he checked me, and I was still at 7 centimeters. And he said, okay, you were at 7 centimeters back at, 2 a.m. when they checked you last. It's now 11 a.m. It's not really progressing, it feels like. But in my head, all these alarms were going off. Like, I knew they would say this. I know this trick, And I said, I can do it. I can do it. You guys probably remember it more vividly than I do. But I remember saying, I'll just give me 2 more hours. Give me 2 more hours. And he said, okay, I'll come back at 1. And he said, you're not really progressing. You've been at this for a long time. And, if you want to have a vaginal delivery, I think we need to think about the epidural. And that was really hard for me, because I had this vision in my head of I did all the right things for my pregnancy, right? I did all the right food, exercise, preparation. We read every book. We went to every class. We listened to every podcast. And I said, surely I'm not going to need any intervention. I've got this. I've done hard things. And hearing that, it felt like an out-of-body experience, hearing the possibility of me having a C-section. And not that he scared me, but he was just very real with us. And Farringer was awesome. We could have been like, nope, we're going to muscle through it. And he would have been like, okay. But he just kind of, he said, this is my personal, professional opinion. And so he said, okay, give me 2 more hours. I'm going to work. I remember saying that I'm going to work really hard. Give me, like I hadn't been working hard, but I said, give me 2 more hours. So he left, and I think you guys were all like, this is too much, this is too long. And we tried more of the positions and the ball. And I was like making a decision, like, do I do the epidural and risk all the cascade of interventions with that? Do I try to muscle through, and will I have the energy to push? And we went to the shower, and I had just hot water down my back, and you were standing. Austin didn't leave my side neither of you guys, the whole like 48 hours. And I looked at Austin and I said, can I call my mom? And so he got his phone, he called my mom. And it's funny, I called all of the women in my life that were closest to me that had babies. I called my friend Caroline, who had just had her baby a few months before, unmedicated, rocked it. And I called my older sister, my sister-in-law, and my mom. And I almost, like, thinking back, was like I was getting permission from these other women to, like, this sounds horrible, but like, give up. And not that that's what I was doing, but that's what I told myself that's what that was. But and I think all of them were shocked to hear I was still in labor. And my mom she had 7 kids, all vaginal births, all unmedicated, and 6 of them were at home. So incredible inspiration for me. She really put the bar high. And when she was very calm, and she said, Mel, that's too long. Like, that's too long for your body. Something's wrong. When she said that, I was like, I could cry thinking about it. She said, something's wrong. Like, you need to do what's best for you. And because I told her, I said, Mom, my back. And I hung up the phone from those phone calls, and I was crying, and my whole body started shaking, and I just threw up. And I wasn't in transition, unfortunately. And I was so pathetic. My legs were so swollen from standing, and I had puked, and I just remember looking up at you, and I just said, what did I say? I can't do that. I'm done.
So
yeah,
I'm done.
I think that was like a good moment for, she had really taken the time to, I think, reflect and come to peace with necessity of a decision. I think I walked out, and you and some of the nurses staff were there, and I just said, I think she's ready for the epidural. And from there, it was just no problem. They had the anesthesiologist was in surgery. There was a bunch of women who had just showed up that were in line, and he skipped the line, came straight there, was able to give Mel the epidural. I think the 3 of us all racked out for a few hours, took a little nap, and I don't know, by the time Mel woke up, I think the nurse checked her, and she was like, you're ready to start pushing. And it was, I think, a little nap and a little break that Mel certainly needed, baby certainly needed, and I think gave her the energy to kind of finish it out. And from there, it was real.
It's great.
All good from there. But
and again,
go ahead.
Oh, sorry. No, go ahead.
The cascade of interventions is true. And you have to, it's hard to remember, like, that's when you come in at 4 centimeters and you're like, give me the epidural. There's a very different mindset. Epidurals and that's why I always say it's the right tool at the right time. You can use a hammer on a screw. You'll get it in the wall. It's not the best tool. And I think a lot of the times in labor and delivery, there's nothing wrong with the tools. There's no good, bad, right, or wrong about the decision, but the timing can make a huge difference. Mm-hmm. And when you're in great shape, so you have a muscular body, and the uterus is a muscle, not that you're working that out the same way your biceps, but we tend to hold and be tight, and your body's never done this before. So that uterus muscle is tight. You're not in the perfect environment. You're exhausted. So all of that's also a cascade that happens naturally in your body that's fighting the process. The good thing about using the epidural as a tool later is that it forced you to relax everything, every muscle from your back. Your back wasn't in pain. You got to sleep. You could actually get off your feet after 48 hours, plus the 3 days of prodromal labor and the walking and all that. Like, we're talking like a 5-day stretch here of really mental and physical exhaustion. And so the great thing about using it as a tool is that finally, like, your whole body takes a deep breath and just freaking relaxes, and that allows you to open. And so that little snip of time, it can be disappointing, and there's fear that it's a cascade. You, after 48 hours of your water breaking, and I have to say, for an OB to be like, it's been 48 hours, they can pull the plug on a C-section at 24. I'm not saying that's right, that they should every time. I love that you had an OB that was like, it's been 48, not worried, and gonna be worried. Like, and we don't have much wiggle room. So your C-section wouldn't have been like, you're terrible, she's terrible. It would have been a time issue, probably. Like, we've just gone too long and this isn't happening. And he gave you lots of the time to do that. So in my mind, like, okay, the safe word, using the epidural, actually did what it was potentially designed to do, which is like allow you to relax and your body to open. So what was pushing like for you with the epidural? Because everyone has, like, some people are so knocked out numb that it makes them uncomfortable. And some people really have some feeling. And then Austin, this is like I start to cry every time I even think about your birth. And I've seen a lot of them, including my own grandkids, which also make me cry. But how was it to push through that? And then Austin, you got to jump in.
So I had voiced all my concerns to the nursing staff about the epidural, and they said, okay, like, if you don't want a bunch in your system, just don't press the button. And I said, okay. And so they hooked it up, and you guys got me all situated, and I, again, racked out for like 3 hours. And I didn't press the bolus. And so when I woke up and they checked me and they said, I think you're ready to push, they disconnected everything and gave me a second to get feeling back in my legs. And I remember I could lift my legs. And it was like the sensation was coming back. But it wasn't in my back. I could feel like baby was ready. But I could lift my legs, which is so huge. And yes. And you, Austin, came to my right side, and Jen, you were on my left side, and you guys had my arm, and I was pushing against with my legs and my arm against you guys while I started pushing, and I could feel I could feel, which was so important to me. Because I, just from, a fitness standpoint, like, you understand this, Jen, like, just having that mind muscle connection, mind body connection is so important. And, so yeah, I could feel, thank God I could feel and lift my legs, and we started pushing, and once I made the decision to do the epidural, it was like the sun shined on us. Everything from that point, just nothing was any more doom and gloom. And everything felt so smooth and so, it was meant to be. It was meant to be like that. So I just felt excited. We were about to meet the baby. The nurses were incredible. You were incredible. Austin was incredible. Everyone was just cheering me on to push. And you guys were awesome. You said, I remember the nurse said, I can braid her hair. And I looked over and said, she has hair. And it felt so motivating. So motivating. And they're like, every push is getting her, closer, getting you closer to meet your baby girl. And we had, during our birth class, we had, a couple discussions, like, what do you want to do to be involved, Austin? Like, do you want to catch the baby? He's like, I don't know. You want to talk about that? Just like making that decision?
Yeah, I didn't really want to initially. I was like, it just, not because I'm not squeamish or anything like that. I was just, I don't know, it just seems like not have the doctor do it. And there was even a part of me that was like, I kind of wanted to be up by Mel while it was happening. But I think ultimately we decided, that I'd catch her. And, Mel had felt down and reached the top of her head. And I said, I'll see her when I catch her. And so I was like kind of saving that moment for me and her.
Which was an incredible moment.
And when Farragher came in and, broke the bed down, and he, I scrubbed in and then put, he wheeled that little stool in.
Yes.
It was so smooth. Mel, didn't tear at all. But like her, I don't want to say the moments of blur, I get like kind of tripped up over it, but like as she came out, like I've done, my whole life has been intense things. I've seen terrible stuff, very intense. Catching her, and I remember hearing everyone like get her up to Mel, and I was plastered to that stool. Could not stand, legs were not working. Like I remember you guys taking her from me to bring her up to Mel, and like my hands being stuck like in that position, just quivering, my knees shaking, and just I folded in the chair, just sobbing like tears of joy. You came and put a hand on me and were just brought me back into reality. But it was just such a dump of emotion and adrenaline of just, Mel's crying happy tears and just the staff. It was just the single most intense experience ever of just a culmination of things. And
here we go. Okay, don't pull her. Try to wake her up a little bit, okay? Hi, sweetie. You got some crying. You got some gurgles. Yeah.
That's another piece of advice for any, I don't know how many dads are tuning in for birth podcasts. I hope more do, but for any dads out there that are listening to this, like if you got the grit and you got the stomach for it, like I highly encourage doing that. To be, the first hands, on your baby when they're born is something I cherish. Every day, every time I see Ayla, it was just a really special moment you get to have. And it really was. It was the perfect conclusion. There was Ayla's heart never dropped, blood pressure never dropped.
9 Apgar coming out, and
could not have been a better process. And even the parts that felt sticky and maybe scary, similarly, that was exactly what it was supposed to be. And I also felt very grateful having you there. I think one thing when you're talking about those moments of just having one person have even just a little bit more personal connection and care for Mel, not that the hospital staff doesn't care about her or, wasn't on her team, but to just be able to lean on you, to have one more person who's in the game with me, supporting her is so massive, so huge for really what is the biggest, moment in your life. And I'm so appreciative that you were there, helping me as my teammate to support, the quarterback here. So,
I mean, it was intense because not very many dads, if you're doing predominantly hospital births, OBs don't even allow you on a stool. Most of them, you have the rare exception of the OB who's like, sure, you can sit next to me, but he really he was great. He did exactly what he should have done, but basically he allowed you to do the catch and he just had his hands around you. And the hospital does not want me to take video. I never take video. Sometimes my camera, though, it's just not on the right setting. I don't know that when I push the button. So maybe I thought I was getting pictures, but I had a video of the entire thing. It's the weirdest thing that happens to my phone sometimes. Can't explain it. Because video is like, I'm like, they're like, do you have a video on? And you can hear me. There are so many video clips out there where you can hear someone say, is your video on? And I'm like, no, I'm just holding it for photos. Like,
I'm just taking a bunch.
I lie. Blatant bull-faced lies. Yes, I just videoed you asking me that, you jerk. I'm getting this moment. But like that clip is in my memory. I haven't watched it in over a year, but like in my memory, it is one of the most intense clips I have ever taken. And I think part of it's that we're not allowed to, and I did it anyway. which I love to do anyway, but just that it's so rare. Home birth, way different experience, like different expectations, the whole thing's different experience. But in a hospital in this situation, that was the like best moment you could possibly ever hope to get, like that. And then Mel feeling the whole pushing, like just so exceptional. And I love when things work the way they're designed to work, which is
Yes.
what you guys had, the best epidural experience, and people can have that.
Yeah.
But you have to advocate. Now, postpartum for people, and I'm speaking from personal experience, when you're in good shape and you have a baby and you're like, it took a year to grow her, I'll give myself a year to feel back to myself. It's gonna be great. And at 2 weeks, you're like, how long when can I be doing squats and deadlifts? I'm not. This
Yeah.
is exceptionally long, this whole process. At postpartum, you're breastfeeding, you're healing, you're wanting to get back to doing those things. What was the postpartum journey like for you?
Sure. Well, like Austin said, I didn't tear, thankfully, and I think that helped a lot. At least kind of psyched me out, thinking like, okay, like I don't have stitches down there, so I can do a little bit more. But I just sitting out in the sun, the first couple days postpartum, sitting in the sun was huge. Nutrition, huge. Hydration, huge. Again, breastfeeding. And just you're not sleeping, obviously. So like, resting when you can. But I started with just, I think a couple days after we got home, just some pelvic floor type, reconnecting with my pelvic floor and my deep core, doing some breathing techniques, like little things like that, just to like re-feel that muscle and keep it active. But it wasn't, I'd say physically, postpartum wasn't bad for me. And I really attribute that to staying active through my pregnancy and having the support system that I did with Austin. Austin was just a rock star through everything.
Everything.
Having Ayla and breastfeeding my only obligation. And I didn't have to worry about anything else. And so yeah, physically wasn't hard. Ayla did have some breast latch issues. We think it was her neck. And so like that part was stressful for me. But between you, Sarah, and then Beth and her Ayla's pediatrician, they had a great in-house lactation consultant. And then the chiropractics that you recommended, huge. I mean, just night and day difference once we started having body work done on Ayla. So I would say the sleep, like Austin and I have gone plenty, have had plenty of experience, no sleep, operating on no sleep. It's just a different type of fatigue, the postpartum fatigue. And then obviously like my body is just so much going on, so much fluctuating. But I would say we were back out hiking maybe a week or two after.
It's really like light walks.
Yeah, like not hiking, but walks. And then I'd say about a month after I started I did like the crosses hike. Like I started like actual hiking again. And we would bring Ayla, we had the gym right above us on the rooftop. It was the coolest gym. And we just brought her up and I'd put her in the carrier and do, I'd work shoulders, arms. I would do, standing marches with kettlebell over like whatever I could where she's in the carrier and I could just move my body. I wasn't doing anything crazy, but just, I just kept telling myself like I was built to birth. So it's not like I just had major surgery or anything crazy. Like I can slowly ease back in and I just listened to my body. Sometimes I'd say I overdid it. I would know like, okay, I overdid it a little bit. But I movement was huge. Movement. But I also like found a good balance of like staying in bed with Ayla, napping with her was big. Like not, again, that control piece for me. The whole journey is a big lesson in surrendering. like controlling my productivity for the day, like just learning, like, no, like all that can wait, nap, fuel your body, be with your baby. But one thing I will say that took me off guard for postpartum, like our marriage has always been very solid, thankfully, and we did all this preparation for pregnancy, birth, labor, infancy. One thing I wish we would have invested more in was our marriage, like the change our marriage would go through after having a baby. And we make an awesome team, but it definitely takes a toll. It's definitely an adjustment. And Austin, he's great. And he verbalized, like, I know that I'm not on high on your priority list right now. And that hurt me to hear, but he was right. Like like that killed me, but I mean, he isn't, Ayla had to be in healing. And so yeah, just understanding the change that would happen in your marriage and continue to happen through having children. Not that it's any reason not to have children, but it's a different season. And I just wish we would have been more aware of that. I think just call it by its name. And that was probably the biggest adjustment postpartum, the breastfeeding issue in the beginning. But once we got over that hump, everything felt really cool to just like start doing the things I used to again. But I'm wearing a baby now.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was, I don't think I'm so thankful. I didn't have a whole lot of issues.
Well, I read my notes before we got on here, and I wrote, like, you have an incredible support. Austin's parents were there, right? It was your parents.
Yes. His mom, and then, I guess,
my mom and stepdad came in. My mom
okay.
was there for a long time. My stepdad flew in like the day after Ayla was born, and then we had like a roving cycle of just
his mom came,
siblings, her mom,
right.
So super helpful.
Yeah, very great.
Yeah, sometimes it can almost be too much support, but you guys had great support for lactation, great support, like you had in every area except marriage, which is a tough one because you don't know how things are going to hit. It's another one of those like symptoms or side effects that, like, who knows? And Austin, you have this baby you just caught. That was the most intense, amazing thing. What was that connection like for you postpartum?
Yeah, I actually struggled, to bond, I guess. I felt very much like it was like a science project that I was here to like keep this baby alive. But, Ayla was, I didn't have a huge sample size, so I don't know if she was exceptionally fussy or not, but it seemed that way. And it felt like there was nothing I could do. It was really only holding her to give Mel's ears a break from her crying or her nipples a break when she's trying to nurse. And I was like, I'll just take her and walk around with her. And it was discouraging I'm not as competitive as Mel, but, hard on myself similarly. And just like, man, am I not doing a good job? She doesn't like me. And this is,
right.
There's probably like 2 months of that. Feeling, really down. And then you add that on to, I don't, get to like hang out with my wife and best friend the way that I used to. So now I'm, it was just me and the dog a lot of the times. Like I'll just get him out of the house and do grocery runs and whatnot. But, a couple months postpartum, Ayla you start getting these, for sure, like definitive, she's recognizing my face and she's grinning at me. And it's like those moments that I really clung to of like, okay, like, no, like that's different. That's
it's working.
If something's happening, she doesn't hate me. And, that's was always a huge priority for me. I have a very, not to like trauma dump things, but I have a very weird relationship with my own dad. And so I was trying to be very, very cognizant of like, I don't know what I got to do differently, but I'm doing something differently because she's not grown up to have the relationship that I have with my dad or my siblings have with our dad. And having that be, that she's never going to be less important than my career or money or, anything like that. And she is, my little buddy now. I mean, just little things, reading to her and playing with her. And, I remember the first couple times of like tickling her and getting her to giggle and that kind of stuff of just like those little bits that you grab onto. And similar to the labor thing, like you're not, she's nursing on mom, and mom's be the the one that makes her feel calm, but finding those little bits of like, she's still my daughter too, and I get to have those little things to hold on to, because as she grows up, that all counts. As she's now 16 months she is now, that all paid off of having those little bits of working, despite it feeling like she doesn't like me, or I can't do a whole lot beside cook or do the dishes. It all comes around and shakes out in the end, and that effort matters now. Don't throw in the towel or think that you're just there to bring home a check and you take care of this, change diapers when you can, be up, hold her, because it's going to be a grind, but it pays off on the backside.
I don't think men realize how displaced they're going to feel. And that's the closest word I can get. And you're so vital and important, like from my perspective as a mom going through postpartum, for Mel, like just hold her and let her cry so I can brush my teeth and shower. Like that's where you're at, healing and supporting another person's life that you just created and birthed. It's intense. Women are like in another place, and you're very displaced, and that's a really hard thing to work through. And you're like, well, go on dates, just strap the baby on and go on dates, strap the baby on and go work out, strap the baby. And it just takes time. It is a grind. It just takes time. And to look at this baby who's crying all the time, thinking that she doesn't like you, and being like, there's nothing malicious or manipulative about this baby and her needs. Like, she's reacting in one of the only ways she knows how. And I'm just, you're weathering the storm essentially for a while. And man, it's hard to weather that storm. So I'm glad that you put words to that. And after catching her and having that intense moment, and then feeling like, yeah, she doesn't really like me and we're not bonding. Like what? How is that possible? Did you not see the illegal video that we have?
Yeah. Absolutely.
And it's just a grind that takes time. And I'm glad that you guys recognize it, because the wedges that can happen postpartum in relationships, like they can make you the ultimate strongest force ever, or they can really create wedges that you just don't know how to bounce back from. And women are losing their identity, you're losing your identity. You have to try to muddle through and figure that out. So good for you for talking about it and verbalizing it and being aware of it. And then we need to do something about this, because it's hard. It's hard. What about more kids?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think so we ended up moving back to Minnesota. That's obviously where we're at now. I finished up school and I'm in the police academy right now. Mel's still got a couple semesters left. She's still chipping away at school, but I think we're going to probably start. We say planning. It's funny.
If we were pregnant now, it'd be.
Yeah, we'd be fine now. It really doesn't.
Yeah.
I don't know. We keep putting weird dates. Like, okay, when you graduate from the police academy, like then we'll start. But certainly this year, to be trying for a second. And it was kind of a funny thing. Mel's comes from a huge family. She's one of 7. I've got 2 siblings and a half sister, and always wanted kids. Never had a number in my head. When found out Mel was pregnant with Ayla, it was like I could see us having like 2 or 3. She was born, because Mel's always been like, I want 6, I want 7, I want 8. And I was like, you're just talking. After Ayla was born, I was like, we could have 6. I don't care. Like we could have 6, 7. It doesn't even matter. I know timing is, we just turned 30. So, but it's funny how that works, just because now it just feels like, we're so blessed. And if Ayla was the only child we had, it would feel, like an amazing miracle in and of itself. But, I don't know. They're just, how could you not? I think there's like, some people take it as like, well, I love this baby so much, how could I ever love another one? And I totally get that on that side. And then on the flip side of the coin, is it just like, well, I love this baby so much. Imagine how much more love and joy you get to spread around if you have more. And I think that's more the side we're leaning into. I just think it's 3, 4, shooting for at least 4. Somewhere, but if we have more, there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, God willing.
What has postpartum fitness been like? Because you were pretty competitive, Mel, and you're obviously, your body changes a lot. For men, your body changes too, but you have more consistency generally over time. My husband's 51 and I'm 55, and he's like, yeah, all I had to do is not smell food for 2 hours and I lost 3 pounds and my muscles started.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm gonna kill you. I'm so happy for you. Bless your heart. Yeah, like still in our 50s. And I'm like, I've done the same thing and tracked my food for 7 months and I haven't budged. It's it is it's a little different for us. So what was fitness like post, and how are you feeling about that journey?
Yeah. It was a lesson in humility of like, I always had this, physique I worked so hard to maintain, and breastfeeding, I think more than the pregnancy, like really, I lost a lot of muscle. I also wasn't lifting as frequently. And I just told myself, this is just a season. You're fueling your baby with your body. It's so beautiful. Like, focus on that. And Austin obviously like never made me feel like, aren't you gonna start working out again or anything like that? Like, so, and he even says, like, I kind of like your pregnancy postpartum body better than Kat's shoulders. Like, okay. But having a partner that still shows they're interested in you and attracted to your postpartum body, pregnancy body, whatever, was huge and took off pressure. But yeah, just kind of shutting off that voice in my head. But also, like I said, movement, and just, I really love resistance training. I've always loved lifting. And so doing the things that I love, but not setting this time limit or, you need to lose. Like, I didn't even have lose weight in my head. I was just like, I want to be able to feed Ayla as long as I can, which I'm still breastfeeding actually. And so, and my body just naturally through, movement and lifting 3 days, I'd say 2 to 3 days a week. Right now I'm lifting, and then we walk a lot. Just stay active. I'm pretty much back to my pre-pregnancy weight, which has never really been a big deal to me, but it's cool to see that if you, without controlling anything, your body will, obviously eating healthy and movement, but your body goes back to what it knows.
Yep.
And I haven't done anything crazy, but I've thought about mixing it up and maybe, training for a marathon or getting back into CrossFit. Right now, my fitness goal is to apply at the volunteer fire department in our area. And so just getting back into like athletic agility type shape, just more athletic training type thing. So, but other than that, just being patient with myself and, having a daughter really, it's really important, a son or a daughter, but especially a daughter. Like, I could feel my negative voice when I look in the mirror and I don't have abs or my ass is gone or whatever. And I can feel myself talking about that and comparing to, my old body, but also remembering like Ayla's watching and hearing these things. And, but I also debunk the whole, your body will never be the same after you have a baby. Like, no, it won't be the same, but it doesn't mean you can't, put on muscle again and, all those things. So, understanding that, take care of your body, fuel it, hydrate, move, but also be patient, trust the process, and don't compare, but you can set new goals and you can have a better physique or be faster, stronger, switch up your fitness realm even after you have a baby or multiple babies. So that's what I'm clinging to. Yeah. And I felt good doing that. So
I did too. And I'm more type A control, but you can have different birth experiences. You can have pregnancy and postpartum, but yeah, just relaxing into that and letting it happen. And it isn't the same, but it doesn't mean it's not worse. It's not even a better or worse. Mm-hmm. Guys, I adore you. And I'm so glad you shared your story. And I appreciate you so much. Thank you so much.
We thank you for being a part of it and for all the work that you do and for all the help and just love and care and effort you did for us leading up and through the process. And even now, we love that we have a friendship and relationship with you, and just what an amazing role you play in our life and also Ayla's. So thank you for this and for giving us the opportunity to talk and meet.
Yeah.
Oh, thanks.